Gary Hardgrave is in Brisbane right now and heard everything I had to say at the start of the show. And Gary, it happens time and time and time again, yet for some reason there is some sort of mind trick over the local media that they don't remember, that she said in September of last year, oh, I'm going to hire more people to process all of these different complaints. I get a different version of the vaccine because I'm going to Tokyo. It'd be a huge disaster if I didn't go to Tokyo. Yet it's not a disaster that bloke, who's a Queenslander, couldn't see his mum in Queensland before she died, and the final days of her life were lost in a paper trail with a heartless government.
Yeah, and of course last night, Paul, thousands of people, including people who've come from France, we're at a football match. Australia versus France, the Wallabies versus the Bleu at Suncorp. So this poor bloke, Anthony, his mother passes. He's locked in hotel quarantine. He'll end up with a bill at the end from the Queensland government, by the way. I mean, he'll end up with a bill. He's forced to stay there for a fortnight. They wouldn't dare allow him to go and see his mum. And Paul, as you know, about 2 and a bit years ago, I lost my mum suddenly. There is not one thing in my life I would not give up to have more time with my mum. So, my mum died quickly, unexpectedly. This bloke knew his mum was crook. He wanted to get back. He moved heaven and earth, spent a fortune, a lot of money to get here. Flew a light plane from Sydney up to Brisbane, and the Queensland Health Department said, who cares? People who are in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, secure jobs, making decisions on this sort of stuff, and it's not the first time we've seen it. And what did Annastacia Palaszczuk do today? She got her dozens of media minders out there to beat up a story about how 10 people at a hospital saved somebody with anaphylaxis going through an MRI. Look at that, don't look at this. And I get it, the hospital staff obviously did a great job, but nothing about this. No care, no concern. We're leaderless, it's heartless. Where I live in, the part of Brisbane I live in, is a very multicultural part. We're at a by-election at the moment. People in that electorate of Stretton, they can't see family and friends. They can't come into Queensland because they can't. They can't see family and friends from overseas is what I mean. There's a lot of multicultural people there. Even the candidate, Jim Bellos, the Liberal candidate, his mum died a week or so ago. He spent 4 weeks nursing his mum through the final stages of his life. 2 months ago, his dad died suddenly. I don't know how the guy keeps going. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is this is deeply hurtful on every front. And I just don't get what motivates Palaszczuk. Why does she want to be so heartless and to say, I don't care about you, I'm going to Tokyo. And oh, by the way, they've called a state of emergency in Tokyo. And in normal times, Paul, we'd be all seeing travel advisories saying unnecessary travel to Tokyo at this time of a state of emergency is advised against Australians. But I don't know, Palaszczuk is going. She'll come back to her 2 weeks in hotel quarantine and, she won't pay for it.
Yeah.
This poor bugger may not even be able to go to his mum's funeral. This is awful, Paul, just awful.
And also, too, this situation of the poor bloke who died as on the job as a police officer. He deserves the full funeral. He deserves as many people as his funeral as want to turn up. If that's 200 people, if it's 50 people, if it's 2,000, they should all turn up. There should be the full guard of honour at that funeral, not some sort of separate scale down this, that and the other. And again, the heartlessness on display. Yeah. This is her trying to pretend that she cares on the news last night.
Look, it's a very tragic situation, and my heart goes out to the family.
But then pretends to be utterly powerless to make sure this bloke gets the funeral he should. I thought there was another
Paul,
so sorry, keep going.
That's
you
right.
go.
Well, I can fill in. I can fill in for you, mate. What I found extraordinary again, the legion of spin doctors she's got. I think she's got 18 personal media people, many of them formerly high-profile media people in Queensland. Household names now working, cashed in to the Premier. They're running around saying, you'll be able to see tomorrow live on Channel 7 or something, some footage of the funeral from our helicopter. The honour guard is away from the funeral because only 100 people can go to the funeral. This is just on every level, on every front, heartless and leaderless. And this Premier should be ashamed of herself. I hope she goes to Tokyo, and I hope she stays, because, frankly, Queensland deserves much, much better than this. Small business people are copping it in the neck. They're being subjected to all sorts of rules and regulations. I put on extra staff to see whether people comply with the QR code requirements that we're bringing in to every shopping centre, to every shop. Small businesses can't do that. People are going out and buying smartphones when they haven't got them. I'm being Paul, this is just disastrous. And I'm now getting notes from people, and I'm going to read at least one of them out on my program tomorrow night, calling for civil disobedience. And I'm not somebody that actually tries to organise protests, but the anger and really the hurt, Paul, it is heartfelt and it's hurtful. And look, any of us have only ever got one mum, and our mum is the most difficult thing for us ever to lose, is what I'm told. And I just feel shattered for this bloke. I just feel so shattered. And I feel ashamed to be Australian. What is happening in this country right now, Paul? The Prime Minister has got I get it, he's got a tough job, but he's got to start batting these premiers, start taking the metaphoric baseball bat to them, because this is just wrong, Paul. People want him to do better. He's got to do better.
All right. Thank you, Gary. We'll see more this time tomorrow night here on Sky News. Hardgrave on Friday nights. Now, also, my view too here about all of this is, look, I'm no to the civil disobedience, but here's an idea. Stop voting. Stop voting and endorsing in every poll and all the rest. Pick up the phone, ring the Premier's office, ring your local MP, whoever it happens to be. Make sure that you ring the TV station and say, hey, you missed this bit of the story. Because we won't miss it here at 9 o'clock each and every night. So regardless of whether you're watching us in Rockhampton, and you're watching us on Win, or you're watching us right now on the Goldie or Central Brisbane, you'll always get the straight talk here, but you've got to spread the message. Spread the videos when they're up on Facebook, because this Sheila, done.